Live to Capitol Hill here tonight, where House Democrats have just revealed that Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell here, will and does plan to ask President Trump to commute her 20-year prison sentence. Trump previously said he'd, quote, have to take a look at any application submitted. An attorney representing some of Jeffrey Epstein's victims calling that possibility, quote, disgraceful.
The grounds for commutation are typically things like wrongful conviction. Well, that's not going to apply here. A jury of her peers held she was a sex trafficker.
Earlier this year, Maxwell in a deposition said Trump wasn't involved in any of Epstein's crimes immediately after she received a questionable prison transfer. And a whistleblower now alleging she's receiving some special treatment while behind bars, including customized meals hand-delivered to her cell, private meetings with visitors who can bring in a laptop computer, and that she's been allowed to play with service animals.
Britain's Prince Andrew, a prince no more, his brother King Charles officially starting the process of stripping Andrew of his remaining royal titles and evicting him from the royal estate in Windsor. It's the royal family's strongest response yet to the disgraced prince's links to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
It's a moment about justice, right?
Epstein survivor Danielle Binsky responding to the news Thursday.
I think it was incredibly hopeful for survivors, and it's a glimmer of hope that we haven't seen in a really long time, if ever.
The years-long controversy over Andrew's friendship with Epstein intensified after the release of a posthumous memoir by Virginia Giuffre, who alleged Andrew sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager. Andrew has repeatedly denied all allegations against him. He claimed he never met Giuffre, who died by suicide in April at the age of 41. On Thursday, her family released a statement reading in part, quote, "Today, an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage." Giuffre's brother also spoke out on Thursday.
I think this is a big sense of vindication for her from not just the general public, but from the king himself to say, I stand by survivors.
Buckingham Palace also released a statement reading in part, quote, "Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse." I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, is working on a presidential commutation application and getting special treatment in prison. Now, those are new allegations from a whistleblower, according to Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. He's written a 6-page letter to the president demanding that he, quote, provide answers for the American people and all the survivors harmed by Ms. Maxwell's conduct. She was moved to a lower security prison in Texas in August after being interviewed by the president's former personal attorney turned Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. More now from CNN's MJ Lee.
Convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell is hoping to reverse her fortunes with help from President Donald Trump.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something I'm allowed to do it.
Trump, when asked, has repeatedly not ruled out the possibility of leniency for the late Jeffrey Epstein's notorious right-hand woman. According to a whistleblower who is making new allegations, Maxwell is currently working on filing an application for a commutation.
She's basically being treated like an honored guest at a Trump hotel rather than a federal prisoner.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, the House Judiciary Committee's top Democrat, says the whistleblower also claims that Maxwell is receiving preferential treatment at the prison camp in Bryan, Texas, where she's currently serving out her 20-year sentence. The favorable concierge-style treatment is said to include private meetings with visitors, including snacks and refreshments for her guests, Maxwell's guests being allowed to bring in computers during their visits, and the camp's warden personally helping to send emails on Maxwell's behalf. Maxwell's lawyer and the Justice Department did not comment.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
These new revelations coming less than 4 months after Trump's Deputy Attorney General and former personal lawyer Todd Blanche met in person with Maxwell at her previous prison in Florida.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
During the course of 2 days of interviews, Maxwell telling Blanche that she had never seen Trump behave inappropriately. Trump, who was friends with Epstein decades ago, has not been accused of any wrongdoing related to Epstein.
Ghislaine answered every single question asked of her over the last day and a half. Miss Maxwell would welcome any relief.
Just days after Blanche's unusual July meeting with Maxwell, the convicted felon was transferred out of a low-security federal prison in Tallahassee to a minimum security facility in Texas. The move drew the ire of critics, Democrats, and Epstein survivors alike.
We were horrified to learn that she had been transferred to a prison camp.
It's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but at the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned.
And we certainly expect the Epstein survivors to continue speaking out. We saw it at that last press conference there. I've heard it in the conversations that I have had one-on-one with some of these survivors. And they are really disturbed by any possibility, Anderson, of Ghislaine Maxwell getting any kind of preferential treatment or any idea of leniency being afforded to her. And Anderson, the Epstein-Maxwell issue really has been sort of ready to bubble up when we are starting to see that now as the government is getting ready to reopen again, because remember, there is that discharge petition that is just lacking that one final signature, and we expect that Adelita Grijalva, whenever she is eventually sworn in, is going to provide that last signature to force a House vote on the issue of the Epstein files. And I am told, Anderson, finally, that some of these Epstein survivors are just waiting for the next opportunity to descend on Washington, D.C. again so that they can continue pressing this issue. Anderson?
MJ Lee, thanks very much.
Joining me now, family members of one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, before her death in April. She wrote a book documenting what she endured and had dedicated herself to helping abuse survivors. Sky Roberts is Virginia Giuffre's brother, and Amanda Roberts is her sister-in-law. Thank you both for being here. I just have to get your thoughts on what you are hearing from Jamie Raskin about this whistleblower who is saying that she is receiving all kinds of special treatment now in the facility that she's in.
I think it makes us angry. I do want to praise Raskin and the whistleblower for coming forward and exposing what's really happening. I think we have to remember as constituents, this is what our tax dollars is funding. We are funding a child sex trafficker to be in a prison that she does not belong in. She belongs in a maximum security prison. Our tax dollars are waiting on her hand and foot, and it's quite shameful. It makes us angry. It's a slap in the face to every single survivor who came forward. And why is this happening? Why is this happening? We still don't understand why she's there. We were never given any answers as to why she was moved, what happened during those conversations with her. It just all still seems like an extreme cover-up. And it's scary to think that she may be on the doorsteps to freedom.
Sky, I'm curious what you think of the fact that the initial fury over the Epstein files not being released somehow resulted in Ghislaine Maxwell being moved to a more comfortable setting. Why do you think that is?
I think we really have to start questioning. That's an amazing question, because that's exactly what we need to be questioning, is why is she being moved to a minimum security prison after giving testimony in front of Todd Blanche? He should be summoned. He should be held to account to answer for those questions. It's simple. I think that we've prioritized putting power and money over survivors, and when is the government going to start helping them out? I mean, my sister would say it often, like, hey, guys, we could use a little bit of a hand here. We're carrying a lot of weight in terms of the names and the burden to come forward publicly and continue to talk about this. Like, help us out. You've only released 1% of the documents. So I think it's quite shameful. I mean, she doesn't deserve to be playing with puppies in prison and getting chef meals basically prepared for her and sent to her dorm. That's not what we should be doing to a convicted sex trafficking offender. I can tell you that. She was an active participant and physically abused many of these survivors, including my sister.
I think it makes us angry. I do want to praise Raskin and the whistleblower for coming forward and exposing what's really happening. I think we have to remember as constituents, this is what our tax dollars is funding. We are funding a child sex trafficker to be in a prison that she does not belong in. She belongs in a maximum security prison. Our tax dollars are waiting on her hand and foot, and it's quite shameful. It makes us angry. It's a slap in the face to every single survivor who came forward. And why is this happening? Why is this happening? We still don't understand why she's there. We were never given any answers as to why she was moved, what happened during those conversations with her. It just all still seems like an extreme cover-up. And it's scary to think that she may be on the doorsteps to freedom.
I think we really have to start questioning. That's an amazing question, because that's exactly what we need to be questioning, is why is she being moved to a minimum security prison after giving testimony in front of Todd Blanche? He should be summoned. He should be held to account to answer for those questions. It's simple. I think that we've prioritized putting power and money over survivors. And, you know, when is the government going to start helping them out? I mean, my sister would say it often, like, hey, you know, guys, we could use a little bit of a hand here. You know, we're carrying a lot of weight in terms of the names and the burden to come forward publicly and continue to talk about this. Like, help us out. You've only released 1% of the documents. So I think it's quite shameful. I mean, she doesn't deserve to be playing with puppies in prison and getting chef meals basically prepared for her and sent to her dorm. That's not what we should be doing to a convicted sex trafficking offender. I can tell you that. She was an active participant and physically abused many of these survivors, including my sister.
I think if King Charles can strip Andrew of the prince title over just affiliations, over leaked emails, why is our president not definitively ruling out a convicted sex trafficker of minors, of children? Why is our president not standing up boldly and saying, I'm sorry, but no, this is the line in the sand. This is not a party issue. This is a human issue that every single person can agree on. There is no gray area here, and there is nothing that she could offer. There's no truths that she will tell that should allow her any peace for the rest of her life.
I think we have to have that hope moving forward. We have to have the hope that our government is going to do the right thing, that President Trump will hold to his promise of releasing all of the Epstein files and the documents. To date, we have 1%. He's on track to get 4% of them released by the end of his term. It's pretty low statistics in terms of what he ran on. I want to have hope. I think Andrew was a start. I mean, the fact that there's acknowledgement there for survivors to say, you know what, King Charles said, we stand with survivors, the heinous things that they went through. I want to see our own government do that. They're safe keeping these documents in this little, I'll call it a Pandora box that needs to be released. It's shameful that the survivors have to continue to bear this, and we need our government to help us. Please help us carry this burden forward so that we can hold these people to account. I have faith. I still have faith that they can do it.
I've heard similar reports. I've also heard, and these are just, I can't confirm them either, report that someone did complain about this preferential treatment and was promptly transferred to a higher security prison. I don't know if that's true, but that is what's being reported. That would be very distressing, disgraceful, and upsetting if there's any effort to move forward with a suggestion of pardon or commutation. And it also doesn't make sense, Jake, because the grounds for commutation are typically things like wrongful conviction. Well, that's not going to apply here. A jury of her peers held she was a sex trafficker. Another example would be rehabilitation. That is also not going to be possible since she has not expressed any remorse. Another example would be that it's a nonviolent crime, and that doesn't seem to apply either. In fact, I took a look at the particular form that you'd have to fill out, your attorney would have to fill out. And one of the questions on the form was, what was your role in the offense? And do not omit facts or minimize your role. And do you accept responsibility for your criminal conduct? So she's going to have to, if she goes forward with this, she's going to have to address those issues. I think that would be appropriate, given that he did interview her with very little knowledge, prior knowledge about the case. I think that would be fully appropriate to do that. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I think it would be a good move. They are deeply concerned that this is more of the cover up of the Epstein files, which have not been released. Hopefully, we're getting closer to that, but that's another aspect of the cover up. I did ask some clients today if you'd like to hear their comments on this development or possible development of the commutation. I'd like to read a few of them if that's okay. Here's Annie Farmer, who testified at the trial, at Maxwell's trial. Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker and felon who's been accused of lying under oath. Her latest attempt to escape accountability makes it clear she has no remorse for her crimes. Any special legal treatment for her could not only be profoundly insulting, it would be downright dangerous for survivors. Liz Stein, who I know you've interviewed, said, as survivors, justice is the one measure of truth we have left. Ghislaine Maxwell was tried, convicted, and sentenced in a court of law, and her sentence should be upheld like anyone else's. So not happy. They're not happy, and they're very concerned that while the trajectory that they see developing in the public eye, where there's a movement towards the release of the file, there was a press conference to discuss that, the actual steps to them whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. You know, it's just disgusting. I mean, that's really the only word I can put on it. Justice should not come with a VIP pass, but apparently for Ghislaine Maxwell, it does. You know, my clients, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, they have to live with trauma for the rest of their lives. And here they're seeing Maxwell get an upgrade with puppies and computers. It's disgusting. It should never happen. And it should make everyone question what exactly is going on here and why this is happening. It's disgusting. I mean, listen, this isn't punishment. This is privilege in disguise. This is favoritism to a rich, wealthy, influential woman. She used her influence on the outside, and she's now being allowed to use it on the inside of jail after a conviction for sex trafficking and perjury, lying under oath. And the only reason that she's being given this privilege is because of who she is and the information she knows, and she's keeping to herself so that potentially she could get a commutation or a pardon at the end of the day. That's silly. It's just comical to hear him say that. 43,000 pages is absolutely nothing in comparison to what the FBI is currently holding in their custody. I have seen firsthand inside of Jeffrey Epstein's home before it was demolished in Palm Beach. He had video cameras throughout that home. They also, one of my clients saw video cameras in the Manhattan home, inside the home, in a master control room. The FBI has custody of these videotapes, these surveillance tapes from inside these homes, showing all of the people going in and out of the homes. Release the video, release the footage, show who's on them, show what was involved in this. If they don't release the video, they haven't released anything. Well, listen, at the end of the day, my clients, as well as any other minor victims who were perpetrated in this sex trafficking crime, should be protected. It's very simple. Television does it all the time. They blur out someone's face if they don't want to be identified. But only the victims should be protected. The people that are on these videos should be exposed to the world so that the world and the public can cast judgment on them for what they've done.
Well, the whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell is just in a completely different category than every other prisoner. She gets essentially room service behind bars. She can use the shower. She can use the gym whenever she wants to. She gets special treatment there. And unlike other prisoners who have to communicate with people outside of the prison through the unreliable and very slow mail system, she's actually getting messages sent through the warden to the people that she wants to communicate with, and the warden is actually offering her the opportunity to communicate on legal matters with people outside of the prison through the warden. So it's a pretty extraordinary situation. Of course, her presence in that camp facility itself is completely astonishing, given that they had never had a sex offender before, and sex offenders were not allowed in that camp. But she was allowed in, and she got in pretty much on an overnight basis after she met with Todd Blanche. She was subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee on July 23rd after a vote on July 22nd, and it was on July 24th that Todd Blanche, who had been Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, now working for the DOJ as the number 2 person, went over to meet her, not in order to find out what she knew in terms of getting other people to be investigated who were involved in the $1.5 billion international child sex ring, but rather to find out what she would say about Donald Trump. And he pronounced himself satisfied when, she said that she had never seen Donald Trump in any compromising position with young women or girls. In fact, she'd never seen Epstein in some compromising position with underage women or girls. So anyway, he liked what he heard, and then suddenly she got this transfer. Well, I don't want to get into any more depth on it, but I would say this is a person who is in a position to know everything that was reported to us. Absolutely in a position to know. I do. Well, one of the other things that came up was that Ghislaine Maxwell is actively seeking a commutation, a pardon from the president right now. And I learned from somebody else, a Republican, that there's a lot of chatter that, he just pardoned 77 people who participated in different ways in his attempt to lie about the 2020 presidential election, his attempt to overthrow the election, and all of that, some people are seeing as a smokescreen to get people talking about that, because none of these people are facing federal prosecution. They've already been disbarred or faced other kinds of charges. But all of that is really meant to distract people from what may be a pardon forthcoming for Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, I believe that they are, because I know them. I think they take very seriously the idea that there would be this massive international prostitution, child sex trafficking operation conducted by Jeffrey Epstein in conjunction with a lot of very rich and powerful people, including Prince Andrew, who lost his royal title because of this. And so if they can deal with this problem, or at least begin to deal with this problem in a constitutional monarchy in England, I would hope that a constitutional democracy could deal with it. One of the things that I'm hoping for, Caitlin, is that we will have a bipartisan resolution to tell Donald Trump not to offer a pardon, clemency, commutation of any kind to this convicted child sex offender, and not to in any way alter her sentence. I mean, this is one we learned about in advance, that this is going on behind the scenes, and we should do everything in our power to state on behalf of Congress we are opposed to this. And she's, by the way, completely unrepentant. She has never come to terms with what she did. She did not testify at her own trial, and she continues to lie about what took place.